family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much, family. Now, I hope some of you all have seen my previous video that I did about the decline of Europe. Oh my goodness, family. How many of you all know that unfortunately a lot of the Europeans are getting really major karma, baby? I mean, their countries and their governments leaders over centuries have done nothing but, impose slavery and colonialism amongst the darker peoples of the world, and now they're declining. Family, how many of you all know that while they're sitting there still trying to control Black folk in America and Black folks and Africans around the world and of the diaspora, how many of you all know they ought to be worried and be concerned about the implosion, meaning the destruction from within, not just outside? While y'all worried about bricks, beloved, and all that kind of stuff, you need to be worried about the Europeans inside, because y'all know a lot of the folks, the domestic terrorists in America, they mostly white people that's mad about not getting a bagel or something for breakfast, and they just start pulling out the AK-47s and stuff. So, child, while y'all sitting here worried about Black folk and other melanated people, you better be worried about how you're doing your citizens. With that in mind, beloved, just as a brief reminder, how many of y'all remember my broadcast that I did sometime back here on one of the European countries, for example, one of the former breakaway Moldovan regions, where the headline from Reuters said breakaway Moldovan region cuts heating and hot water as Russian gas flow ends. Now, this has to do with Transnistria, and I went into detail about that, family, and how the companies in that European country told them to basically to bundle up. The heating companies, the energy companies had the nerve to tell them that they was cutting the hot water and stuff, electricity. They went so far as to tell them the type of curtains and blinds and stuff to put up in the home and to bundle up. That's crazy. They fear becoming a third world country. Talk black to me, somebody. Y'all about to be driven back into the dark ages. And how many of y'all know when they was driven back during the dark ages? In fact, let's talk about that a little bit. What exactly is the dark ages? I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But let me give you the latest. In addition to that, broadcast I did not too long ago exposing that, and very few folks around the country is talking about the decline of Europe, which of course has everything to do with the reason why they're still trying to keep strongholds in every country in Africa, because they can never experience life and civilization without our resources. Yes. Well, in this piece here that was written by Clean Industries, this article headline says European Commission mobilizing 10 trillion, not billion with a B. Not the second letter of the alphabet, of the English alphabet, not B, not M, millions. I said trillions with a T. That alphabet that's toward the end of the alphabet series, T. European Commission mobilizing 10 trillion of citizen savings for EU defense. So ever since Donald Trump told NATO and Europe that they need to step up and pay for a lot of the stuff themselves for all these illegal wars that they're doing around the world and these mass deletion campaigns of masses of people, America don't want to pay for all that anymore. So Trump is putting the pressure on them. I'm gonna tell you what that's about in just a minute too. Just real quick. It says here the European Commission has unveiled a plan to mobilize 10 trillion of citizen savings to enhance EU defense capabilities, marking a significant shift in funding strategy. A large part of European savings lies in the forms of deposits at very low interest rates, right? It says between 0.3 and 0.8% annum. And even in the form of cash reserve, mobilizing even a small part of these resources will change the investment landscape in the EU, European Commission said. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced plan to rearm Europe will rely heavily on attracting this private investment. Y'all, they done lost their minds. So the citizens in Europe, they told y'all, instead of welfare, social welfare that you pay for, when I say welfare, I mean well-being. As a collective, y'all the one put your hard-earned money together to do this. Trillions of dollars. Instead of welfare, they giving you warfare. Where's my gavel? That's what's being said. Talk back to me. They about to drive y'all back into the dark ages. How many of y'all know about the dark ages? Just a brief overview. The dark ages is roughly spanning the fall of the Western Roman Empire around the 5th century to the beginning of the Renaissance around the 15th century. It's considered to be a period marked by decline in some areas of Europe. Somebody say Europe. including population, trade, and urban life, but also saw the rise of feudalism, the spread of Christianity, and the development of new technologies. Yes? How many of y'all know that also included in the Dark Ages, some of the research says was characterized by, as I mentioned before, feudalism, but it was the introduction to the plow of farming and the Black Death plague. The time period enveloped Western Europeans in superstition and fear. The Catholic Church became a pivotal force that affected the lives of all who dwelled on the lands. Now, some say, and I won't get into all that history right now, some say that this was intentionally caused for Europe to experience these dark ages and stuff. But what I wasn't taught in school, but I had to learn as an adult grown woman, is, of course, they didn't teach us this. The Dark Ages was dark ages because white folks was experiencing trouble. And how many of y'all know that during the Dark Ages, they wasn't taking baths and stuff? Tell the truth, shame the devil. How many of y'all know Black folks, in the form of many of the Black Moors, went over there, built libraries, taught y'all how to read and write and stuff, and how to take baths? We gave you culture and civilization. These are just facts. Now, I know they don't want us to tell y'all this, but this is the truth. And how many of y'all know y'all still relying on today the darker people of the nations for your existence and to keep the lights on that they cutting off? This ain't funny, but it is kind of. So like I said, all the Europeans, I'm sure a lot of them are upset with their government leaders because all of them are probably saying, look, we didn't sign up for this, but this is what y'all get. The so-called global North, which includes, of course, America and her Western allies, mostly Japan here and there. But for the most part, they about the only ones that's y'all in decline, baby. About to be driven back into the Dark Ages. And while you sitting here characterizing other countries as third world countries, which who came up with these classifications in the first place, baby? You know, y'all, this is, you sound like this, you matching the statistics and the characteristics of such a label being called third world countries. And this is some of the karma for infiltrating and colonizing and enslaving the darker places of the nation. So Europe, y'all better go sit down somewhere. You ought to be worried about what's happening within your country because it's only so much that your people going to take having to bundle up and not getting hot water and electricity. And now y'all sit up here actually talking about taking trillions of their savings. I'm just saying. While y'all sit here trying to talk about Africa is a poor continent and a lot of the nations they're in, while you sitting here dogging and mocking Black Americans in the United States and other darker people around the world, look at you. I can't wait to see what y'all have to say about it. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. I'm conducting an absolutely free webinar April 5th on a Saturday, beloved. I'm going to be exposing, are y'all ready for this? How America's power that she wields in the United States and around the world, a part of their intelligence gathering has everything to do with some of the covens. Yes, covens, seances they allow on the military bases. You don't want to miss this breakdown and what you can do about it. I'm a spiritual teacher and I break it down like nobody else can, beloved. Be sure to go to my website at vickiplanet.com to save your free seat today. That's vickiplanet.com. Be sure to share the broadcast.